So we have two unities. You have two unities of Sukkos. The first unity of Sukkos is the Lulav. The Lulav, Esek, Hadasim, Aravis. You all know what that is. And I'm sure the Rabbi has shared with you the standard. It's a medrash actually originally that compares the Lulav and the Esek, the Hadas and Arav, to different kinds of Jews. The Esek is a Jew, let's say it this way, he's successful in his relationship with God and his relationship with man. The Arava is no good at anything. He's there. He's one of us. He's not proficient in Torah study. He's not good at doing mitzvahs, good deeds. He's just tasteless. And in between you have the Hadassim and the Lulav. Hadassim have a wonderful smell, but I don't know if you ever tried eating one. I tried as a kid. When they told me it doesn't taste good, I tried. It doesn't taste good. And the Lulav, which produces dates, which taste good if they're not... All the dates I've come across in America look like they need to be cooking for a couple of more weeks. But when dates are ripe, they actually taste wonderfully, have a good taste, and have no smell. So there's 4 categories of Jews. And we incorporate all 4 into the Daled Minim, into the 4 species. And the interesting thing is, if you have Rashi Tefillin and not Rabbeinu Tam Tefillin, yeah? If you have Rabbeinu Tam Tefillin, not Rashi Tefillin, what do? You do what you have. What if you have a Lulav and no Esrik? What if you have a Lulav and an Esrik and a Dasim and no Aravas? If you don't have all 4 kinds, you have nothing. When it comes to the Lulav, it's either a package or it's not a package. If you have every kind of Jew represented, then you can do the mitzvah. If you're missing one category of Jew, one of the 4 species, it's no good. Now, first of all, on a very practical note, very down-to-earth note, the reason for the sukkah, which is made of basically of waste, this is expensive waste, but in the Talmudic terminology, the schach is called pseilas ge'edim v'yekef. When you harvest, when you collect your food stuff from the field, you eat it, right? But there's a lot of stuff you can't eat, like the husks and the straw and the branches. So from the waste of the food products, you're supposed to make schach. Today, people are making a living out of the waste products of food. But technically, that's what it is. Sukkot is a season to celebrate the harvest. Parnasa, food, what we eat. That's why there's so much about water and on Sukkot also. And the 4 kinds are representative of all different types of things that grow, from which people make a living. This will be either we eat it directly or we sell it and make a parnasa. So that's really on the most elementary level, the entry level, the lowest level. The idea of Sukkot and the idea of the 4 kinds is that it represents all the various different things that people use to sustain themselves, to eat, to keep themselves alive. So the Lulav represents a unity, but it's a complex unity. It's a complex unity because you have different types. You can't just have one type. If you want something to be whole and healthy and successful, you need every type. If you have only one type, if you neutralize the differences between one component and another component, it isn't healthy. The Lulav works because you have Aravas, and because you have a Lulav, and because you have a Nesrig, and because you have Hadassim. If you're going to have only Hadassim, the Esrik seems to be the favorite of the 4 because he has every positive attribute. If you take 4 Esregim and shake it, it's nothing. It's expensive, but it's not a mitzvah. If you want to do a mitzvah, you need 1 Esrik, you need 1 Lulav, you need 2 Aravas, and a minimum of 3 Hadassim. You can only do the mitzvah with variety, right? Think about it in terms of biology. What makes a human being? 1 head, 1 heart, 1 set of lungs. Correct? If a person has 2 heads, now you would think if the head has the brain, and the brain is the source of intelligence, and the nervous system, and all those other things, if you have 2 heads, it's like having a supercomputer. It's not the way it works. The halacha says, and reality teaches us, kol yeser kenotl, a person who has 2 heads is considered as if he has no head. Because when you have more than 1 limb, more than 1 organ that is life-sustaining, you take off 2. If a person is born with 2 hearts, if an animal is born with 2 hearts, it's considered treif. Because you don't say he has an extra heart. The extra heart takes away 2. He has no heart. A healthy body has a variety of different components. And it's only healthy if every single part contributes what it was designed to contribute. The head is much more important than the feet, which can't live without feet. The heart is the most important organ of the body, in a way. 2 hearts is not good. If a person has 3 arms, you would imagine 3 arms, where would you put it? Where would you hang it? But it's an extra appendage. It's not the way it works. We are designed precisely. And the nature of this design is that it's perfect only when it's diverse, when it's various, when it's many different things that contribute to a precise system. What's the sign of a healthy community? What's the sign of a healthy civilization? The sign of a healthy community is that every single member is needed. There's no such thing as vestigial, You can do without. I used to think in the 19th century that there are all of these pieces of our plumbing that are there from our evolutionary past. But as time passed, all of a sudden those pieces of plumbing, we discovered their uses, right? And they got down to the tonsils, what do they call them? There's another word for it. The adenoids, and now they're not so quick to take them out either. The adenoids also serve a purpose. Every piece of our body contributes to what we are. You take away one, everything suffers. And in a community, it's the same way. If you have a community, it's a old story that Chaim Weizmann, who was the president of Israel, met, I don't know how that's possible. I think it was Chaim Weizmann, met Eisenhower. But Chaim Weizmann was not the president. Whatever, he was a big macher. And he met Eisenhower. So Eisenhower says to Weizmann, I'm the president of a 200 million citizens. So Weizmann says, I'm the president of a 2 million presidents. You understand? In a community, everybody serves a purpose. If everybody's got an opinion, if everybody's an expert, if everybody has to do things their way, that community is not a community. It's a disaster. It's a chaos. If you manage to elect a leader, and that leader is respected and trusted and can do what he needs to do, the people who are not leaders are not less because of it, they're more because of it. A leader can't do everything. A leader fills a certain role. He needs arms, he needs legs, he needs fingers, he needs toes, he needs many different contributors. That's why when you have dissent, when you have division, when people don't get along, politics is a luxury that we can ill afford, What's politics? People not joining together for petty reasons. My honor wasn't particularly served. I didn't get the position I thought I should have gotten. All these kinds of things. Is it true? It probably is true. If you feel slighted, then you probably were slighted. But what's the cost? So what? Right? The idea that people are not going to get along or not going to cooperate with one another because of ego or because of other, relatively speaking, trivial considerations, it's very costly. Why? Because we need each other. That's the nature of a human being. In a community, everybody needs everybody. And the idea that I can afford not to get along with him, or I can afford to split the community in two and we'll become 2 communities, it's usually not true. And it's usually very, very destructive. Why? Because we need each other. And we don't all do the same thing. There's one, in halachic terms, a community of any side needs to have a minimum of 120 members. And there's a whole list of requirements. You have to have a doctor, and you have to have a school teacher, and you have to have members of a court, a whole list of minimums. You can't live in a community unless you have this, and this. We have 120 doctors, so that's very wonderful, but it's not a community. Why? You don't need that many. Everybody has to serve a purpose. And a healthy community, every single person is needed and contributes. And the same is true in the human body, and the same is true in the Jewish body, in the collective Jew. The message of Achdus, the message of Jewish unity, of the Lulav, is that we're different. And we all are important. We all contribute. We all do what we can. Hashem did not make us all the same, because that's not what He wants. Hashem created us all distinct and various, because we bring to the table what only we can give. And we all matter. We're all important. And Jewish unity means that we recognize that. Jews getting along, people getting along, a family. What does it take to have politics? A person with a little paranoia, that's politics already. Right? Some people can have arguments with themselves, but that's a special category. But Two people, you can have all kinds of disagreements. How often does it happen that a husband and a wife, the wife did something or didn't do something, and the husband imagined it. He doesn't want to broach it in case he's imagining it, but at the same time he's convinced that his wife was, I don't know, she ignored him one day in the store, and he's walking around 6 months with this terrible feeling of dissatisfaction. And what happened? What happened? She lost her glasses. She didn't see him. All kinds of silly things get in the way of unity. And that's really the message of the four kinds. We're different. And only when you bring us together in a unified way do we work. It's only a mitzvah if you have all four. And it's a serious lesson. It's a very, very serious challenge, because people in general, Jews in particular, in a state of crisis, we're all wonderful. If life's normal, we can't stand each other's guts. To get along is very, very important. To appreciate the need for another person. To appreciate the role we play in our community is very, very important. To collaborate, to cooperate, to be one. That's the story. And yes, at the base of this unity is God. What does God have to do with unity? Why isn't God a social order, a social norm? It is a social norm. How does God get involved in people getting along in a community? And the answer is, people cannot get along unless they have a little humility. We're not going to get along unless we can get over ourselves a little bit. And the more we get over ourselves, the longer we'll live, and the happier we'll be, and the better we'll be, and the more liked we'll be. And that humility comes from God. Our ability to get past ourselves is because we recognize that I am the center of the universe. I mean, when I was a little boy, my mother told me the whole world was created for me. There's no question about it. But I'll let somebody else have some space. Also, I'll leave room for another fellow as well. I mean, that's where God comes in. God comes in because the basis for people getting along, for being peace in a community, and everybody being important and everybody contributing his or her part is a sense of something bigger than us. It's not about me. It's about the source of me, and the source of me is the source of you, and the source of her, and the source of him, and the source of her, the source of all of us, which is Hashem. And that sensitivity makes it possible for people to get past themselves. And listen, very easy to say, I know. I make a living giving speeches. And by the way, in case you don't know, I want to advertise. I have a website. I don't have that many cards, but I do have a few. I don't have any cards. I left my wallet home. InsideChasidus.org. If you know who I am, you heard me before. Inside, INSIDE, Chasidus, please visit.
Inside, not insightful, but inside.
Right, please check it out. There's a lot of stuff. And,
inside
I certainly think so. If you like it, you'll tell all your friends. If you don't like it, you'll tell only me. Okay? In any case, what's going to be the same name? We're as we speak, Mitzvah Hashem, my site is becoming updated. There's people working on it. Be that as it may, but it's so easy to say. I make a living speech. I'm a teacher and I'm a public speaker. It's so easy to say. It's not easy to live. It's not even to live in a marital, two people, a husband and a wife. They love each other. They got married, and they don't always get along. Right? Bring children into the mix. More than one child, oh my gosh, right? You have only one kid, the kid's lonely. He has a brother or sister, someone to fight with the rest of his life. It's hard. It's very difficult to get along. It's very, very difficult to love and to accept. And the beginning is to let go. The beginning of this unity is to not take ourselves that seriously. And that's God. God is in the humility. God is in the ability that we have to say, you know what, I don't have to be right. It doesn't have to be my way. You want to do it your way, go right ahead, it's fine. And when for some people, that's very difficult to do. For some people, it's the most natural thing, right? I mean, I'm speaking here to, about 1.5 million of men and women. The good news is I don't know you. So if I insulted you, it was with no intentions, because I don't know you. Some people have a very easy time being agreeable, and some people take it very personally. They feel like if their position is not accepted or respected, they're being disrespected, dissed, as they say in the 90s. It's not that way. But everybody has their strengths, everybody has their weaknesses, and for a person for whom it's difficult to let go, a person for whom it's difficult to say, you know what, nicht wichtig. We got together, there were a list of people who were supposed to speak, came my time to speak, everyone was ready to go home. I said, you know what, I don't have to say anything, it's fine. For some people, it's nothing. And for another human being, that's huge. It's a great act of maturity. It's a great act of sacrifice. And Sukkot is the time. Sukkot is a special time. The Eibishter gave us this mitzvah, that it's an opportunity. We always can grow up. We always have an opportunity to get over ourselves and get past ourselves. But Sukkot, there's an energy in these days for being agreeable, for getting along with people. And there can be people we're very close to, there can be people we know casually, people we come across on the train, strangers. So there's a koyach for us, those of us who struggle with this, and even if those of us don't struggle, I would imagine in some level everybody struggles with this, to be bigger, to let more people into your sphere. You know how it works. There's two types of people. There are people in my sphere, people outside my sphere. How big is my sphere? If you're very, very paranoid, your sphere has room for only one, for yourself. If you're a little less paranoid, your sphere has room for you and your wife, or for you and your wife and your children. The more open you are, the healthier you are. The humbler you are, the more intelligent you are. The less afraid you are, the bigger your sphere. The biggest sphere is that it encompasses every human being on this earth. That it encompasses every Jew. That's not easy.
Every Jew or every human being?
Both. On one sphere, it's every Jew, and on a bigger sphere, it's every human being. And it ain't easy. It's not easy, but it's a challenge, and it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity. It's a real part. That's what the Lulav really means. I mean, what the Lulav really means is that it should rain on time, and there should be enough to eat. And, when people have what they need, they don't think it's a big deal. When you don't have what you need, it's like health. Parnasa is like health. When you have it, you don't think about it. When you don't have it, you pull your hair out of your head. The first layer of Sukkot, the simplest reason we take a lulav and a esek and hadas and a harava, they represent every type of thing that grows on this earth, which God gave us. He gave us a living planet full of life. And that life feeds us, it nourishes us, and it nourishes itself, and it sustains itself, and it renews itself, and so forth and so on. So Sukkot is a time when we ask for parnasa, for abundance in sustenance. But on a different level, on a philosophical level, on a mystical level, the message of the Sukkah is a unity, but a complex unity. Complex unity means a world different. Now we're going to say L'chaim and sing Noch Anigen. Yeah.